And good evening once again. Day 93 of the Biden administration today saw increasing demands for an overhaul of policing in our country. The emotional issue brought into clearer focus on this day during a funeral for a young man killed by police less than 2 days after the palpable relief felt over the guilty verdict in the Chauvin trial. The Minneapolis area in mourning again as the family of Daunte Wright held his memorial service. The 20-year-old father of a 2-year-old shot and killed by a police officer during a traffic stop 11 days ago now. The officer who killed him claims she meant to use her taser instead of her Glock sidearm. She's now facing charges of second-degree manslaughter. This afternoon, Wright was eulogized at a church in Minneapolis.
I never imagined that I'd be standing here. The roles should completely be reversed. My son should be burying me.
They said they saw some air fresheners in the back of his car. We come today as the air fresheners for Minnesota. We're trying to get the stench of police brutality out of the atmosphere. We're trying to get the stench of racism out of the atmosphere.
True justice is not done as long as having expired tags means losing your life during a traffic stop. True justice is not done as long as a chokehold, a knee on the neck, or a no-knock warrant is considered legitimate policing. True justice is not done as long as Black Americans are killed by law enforcement at more than twice the rate of white Americans.
Many of the speakers today called on Congress to pass the Police Reform Act named after George Floyd. As we mentioned, all this came less than 48 hours after the dramatic end of the Chauvin case. Earlier on this network, New Yorker writer Jelani Cobb described the mood there.
It was kind of a whiplash, because there was a great deal of relief and, joy, jubilation, really, at the guilty verdict that came down in the Derek Chauvin trial. And then just that quickly, people were kind of whipsawed back into this grieving mode.
Jelani Cobb speaking with Nicole Wallace this afternoon. As for the guilty verdicts in the murder of George Floyd, an alternate juror who sat through every minute of the Chauvin trial is now speaking out. She ultimately had no role in the verdict. The trial's two alternates were excused before deliberation started, as is customary. But she says she did agree with the jury's ultimate decision.
I felt he was guilty. The prosecution made a really good, strong argument. Dr. Tobin was the one that really did it for me. He explained everything. I understood it down to where he said this is the moment that he lost his life.
Had you ever seen the 9.5 minutes of video before?
No. I seen the video 2 or 3 times, but I didn't see it in its entirety. It was emotional. I think my eyes teared up a couple of times. So, especially seeing it from different angles and things.
Phil, in the midst of all these national conversations, here comes policing and race into the Biden administration, takes its rightful place right now, it seems, atop their agenda. What pressure is the White House under to do something more than has already been proposed or discussed, perhaps?
Well, Brian, let's keep in mind that policing measures have been proposed, have actually passed the House last month and have not become law yet. And that's because there's not agreement between the two parties and in the Senate. Those discussions are underway quietly. There's a Republican Senator, Tim Scott, a Black man from South Carolina, who is having some quiet negotiations with Democrats like Cory Booker of New Jersey, about finding some common ground here. What we've seen from the White House is that President Biden has said policing reform is at the top of his agenda, but he's not been quite as forceful as the pitchman for that effort as he has been on infrastructure and on climate change. He's trying to let this quiet diplomacy between Republicans and Democrats on Capitol Hill proceed for the next couple of days to see if they can find some common ground. But the reporting suggests, and my colleague Sunmin Kim has a great story on this tonight in the Washington Post, that the president is going to make policing reform a key part of his speech when he addresses that joint session of Congress next week, and add some more of his own muscle behind it. But clearly there's public momentum behind doing something here, especially after this trial came to such an emotional conclusion a couple days ago.
General McCaffrey, I mostly wanted to talk to you about foreign affairs tonight, but let's start on things domestic, and that is the intersection and similarities between your life's work and policing here in the United States. In your line of work, they call it rules of engagement. In urban combat, they call it, trigger discipline. These are harsh terms for a harsh business. A lot of veterans come back and get jobs in domestic police departments here. And I know you well enough to know that you've had thoughts about this week, and I'm wondering what those are.
Well, you're right, Brian. I've had a lot of experience as a drug policy director dealing with law enforcement on the drug issue and other issues. And clearly we have a crying need for a fresh look at criminal justice reform. And it certainly includes law enforcement. Officer selection, officer training, officer accountability. And we just got to do better. A substantial portion of the Black community fears our law enforcement agencies. So we got to change it. Having said that, I tell people it's easier for us to create an Army Ranger or a Marine, 19-year-old young person, good physical condition. 90 days later, we got them. And part of the reason is we use almost unrestrained violence when required to overcome an enemy force. Law enforcement, I tell people it takes 5 years of experience to create a good cop. And most of them, when you talk to them, have never fired their weapon in their entire 20 or more years of service. So it's much more difficult to be a law enforcement professional out there 5-7 days a week, 2 o'clock in the morning, trying to deal with life and death situations. We got to do better, though.
Counselor, we come to you by way of welcoming you as well to the broadcast tonight. Let's talk about the Ma'Khia Bryant case in Columbus, Ohio. As you know, the news of that came almost concurrently with the Chauvin verdict, and yet it's vastly different than any of these other cases we've seen. How difficult is it in your line of work, given what you know about investigations, prosecutions, to decide what shootings are, to use the term of art right now, quote, justified, close quote?
And Brian, thank you so much for your warm welcome. Any way that you look at the Ma'Khia Bryant case, it is tragic. It is horrific. Why? Well, because we lost a teenager. A young life is lost here. And you make a good point, Brian, when you're talking about justification, what you're really talking about is the authorization of force, when police officers are allowed to use force. And in this case, lethal force. And they are permitted in most jurisdictions and in this jurisdiction to use lethal force in the protection of others. But I think it would be lost here if we don't mention the fact that there are some other circumstances that could come into play here. Can Ma'Khia Bryant still seek justice? And I do think that, obviously we don't have all the facts in front of us. But in this case, it's been reported that she was in foster care. So who was supervising it? Was the state involved here to make sure who had the heightened duty and obligation to this young girl to make sure that the circumstances that ultimately arose were avoided? And so can we seek justice for Ma'Khia Bryant? Maybe it may not result in a criminal prosecution of an officer, but it could result in civil liability against the foster care agency, the state, if they were the social workers, or any other entity that owed her a duty of care.
Hey, thanks for watching our YouTube channel. You should know that you can follow today's top stories and breaking news and catch up on your favorite MSNBC shows all in one place. Download the NBC News app today.